Now we know it was the end of the Sabbath. The women were the first to arrive at the sepulchre, and the stone was rolled away when they arrived. But we do not learn how the stone was rolled away until we read the gospel according to Matthew. Now, according to Matthew chapter 28, verse 2, the scripture reads, "And behold, there was a very great earthquake, for the angel of the Lord descended from heaven, rolled back the stone from the door, and sat upon it." Even though each of the four gospels mentions the angels being near Jesus' body after his death, we don't see that key detail until we read this particular account. Seeing as to how this detail was provided, we should consider it important because it may give us insight into the methods of Jesus. In other words, what can we learn about the return of Jesus based on the events that already happened prior to his first several reappearances from the dead? Yes, we can learn greater detail by looking at the mentions in each individual gospel. So the next issue to tackle is we have two approaches that could be taken to understanding this earthquake event. Firstly, it could simply be viewed as a natural disaster. We could otherwise make estimations about how strong the earthquake was, how it affected the soil and crops, or how it affected the surrounding historic buildings. In other words, we could fill our heads with knowledge. But would that first approach bring us into a revelation of Jesus? As a second alternative, let's continue on in what I believe is the preferred approach. Continuing at the sepulchre of Jesus, the women saw that the stone had been rolled away. This is a remarkable natural act given the size of the sepulchre stone. The truth, however, was God's way of showing us something more remarkable. Let's look at the earthquake as it's mentioned in Matthew chapter 27, verse 51, where the scripture reads, "And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent." So let's look at the word earth. The word earth occurs in Scripture 987 times in 906 verses. As far back as the book of Genesis, dry land has been called earth, and man is composed of dust from the ground. From the beginning, the land, man, earth, and ground are associated with one another. For example, Genesis chapter 6, verses 12 and 13 reads, "God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth." Verse 13, "And God said unto Noah, that the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth." Earth, like us, is corrupt, violent, and something that will be destroyed along with us. But when I make this statement, I'm not implying that we are going to die or that the world will end, as some suggest, through an Armageddon. When I looked up the word destroyed, I had found that one of the consistent phrases in that definition had more to do with vanishing, being blotted out, or done away with. Therefore, regarding this destruction, I had to think about what it means in terms of the flesh. We can see in 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 2 that we are no longer to live the rest of our time in the flesh. This is because the flesh had to do with the lust of men. As a result, if there is to be destruction, it means that the nature of our flesh or sinful nature will be destroyed. Yes, we are about to be quaked. This is quite different from the people who are waiting for the earth to be destroyed or for all Christians to just disappear one day. They are not seeing the true value of the gospel, which is to change us and to cause our sin nature to disappear. not the world. A subtle difference in emphasis can change the entire message of the gospel. Now, regarding the earth and man, we know that the first man was Adam, and that Adam was formed from the dust of the ground. In that sense, Adam is a product of the earth. It is in fact the name Adam that literally means redness or ruddiness. Adam was an earthly man, a human being whose existence was mentioned as the neediest of men, and whose presence is recorded in the concordance as being the opposition to a better condition for humans. Adam represents a fleshly aspect of mankind. Because of Adam, and thanks to Christ, mankind has the opportunity to exist in two conditions. The first is being of the earth, which is Adam, and the other is being of heaven, which is Christ. So when we see the word earth, we are not just looking at some dry ground with rocks for archaeological scientific research. We are seeing a spiritual picture of ourselves as we are risen from the fallen Adam into Jesus Christ. In confirmation, 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 47 says, "The first man is of the earth, earthly. The second man is of the Lord from heaven." In relation to our study on the return of Christ, we can answer a question. What did it take to roll that stone from the sepulchre, and what did it represent? To answer the first question, it took an earthquake. And to the second question, the sepulchre stone, as it represents the law on tablets of stone, must be removed before Jesus can rise in our hearts. That is the significance of that stone being rolled away when the women arrived at the sepulchre. And when we understand these things, then the revelation of Jesus Christ is made available to us. Revelation chapter 5 verse 10 says, "And he has made us unto our God, kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth." Now, since we are going to reign on earth, there is no reason why we should escape from it, if we are in fact about to reign on it. Perhaps it is because some human popularized the idea of leaving rather than overcoming. Millions of books and movies later, Christians have accepted this idea as the truth. All of us want to get to Jesus, but the method and understanding are equally as important as the destination. Not only is Jesus the way, but he is also the truth and the life. We are only scratching the surface of the truth here, hoping that together we will find the life. Please stay tuned for the next episode.